Greetings, ladles and jelly spoons to Kai Matthew's YouTube channel, the spinster of the parish that is retro video games. As always, I'm here today with Pat Whitemuffin. Pat, what have you got on for us today?
Just the usual grey silk lad, but later on we'll be taking a look at the logical sequel to the Flying Swan. It's called The Dead Duck. Then after that, myself and Keith will be going down to the new over 70s disco, the Whiskey A Go Go, or Do the Best You Can. And then it will be And So to Bed with Mr. B from Mr. B's Ukulele channel and Engage.
Meanwhile, for those of you who are more easily pleased, why don't you settle down, grab a brew, grab a biscuit and indulge in some rudely fraught claptrap that we call Kai Matthew's Retrospective Reviews. This month we are looking at Hitman 2, Silent Assassin. Hitman 2, Stealth Assassin, a stealth video game developed by IO Interactive and published by Eidos Interactive for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 2 and Xbox, as well as the Nintendo GameCube. The game was re-released for Windows through Steam and GOG.com and is the second installment in the Hitman video game series. It is a sequel to Hitman codename 47.
Hitman 2 appears in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott.
You are once again playing as Agent 47, a genetically enhanced human clone who works for the International Contract Agency, the ICA, as an assassin. Following the events of Codename 47, the former contract killer has retired and started a peaceful life at a church, but after his only friend, Reverend Emilio, is kidnapped by an unknown assailant, Agent 47 resumes his work for the ICA in hopes of tracking down the killer.
That's quite a large sum of money.
True, but I don't perform standard hits, and besides, I've got a reputation to protect.
Here we
Silent
go.
Assassin received positive reviews from critics and fans who considered it to be an improvement in all areas over the first game. Having sold more than 3.7 million copies as of 2009, makes it the best-selling Hitman game of the original series.
The series received reboot treatment in 2016.
The original series consists of 5 games: Hitman codename 47, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, Hitman Contracts, Hitman Blood Money, and Hitman Absolution. Silent Assassin, Contracts and Blood Money received high-definition ports and were released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in January 2013 in the form of the Hitman HD trilogy.
Park. Nice, secluded, and out in the open. We've got some old spy footage on them meeting previously for your reference. Our intelligence says they are scheduled to meet in Kirov Park at 1400 hours today, local time.
Hitman 2 Silent Assassin's gameplay focuses on assassinating targets and remaining undetected for as long as possible, either by disguising yourself as an NPC on the level, avoiding suspicious enemies, or by other means that come into play in each mission. The first game in the series had a few action-focused segments. Silent Assassin removed these from the game in favour of entirely stealth-focused missions. Indeed, it was these action-focused segments elements that brought the review scores for the first game down a peg or two, as they felt a bit tacked on.
That said though, you can go in all guns blazing if you like in old Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. The game was very open to letting you, the player, choose your own style of play.
Silent Assassin brought in new gameplay features such as a first-person view and the ability to incapacitate enemies instead of killing them, as well as missions with multiple possible approaches, something that would become a staple for the series. Coming off the back of the first game, IO Interactive needed to address the first major complaint, that the game felt inaccessible to most players due to its unfriendly nature. The camera was a pain, the checkpoint system was broken, and gameplay was difficult. IO Interactive set about making the levels smaller and more focused, reworking the AI and adding in new features and items such as chloroform for quickly taking down enemies and a crossbow that could silently kill opponents. They would stick with the mission-based gameplay though, and defaulted to the third-person perspective, which could be optionally switched to first-person view if you wish.
I'm just saying, I've never met anyone that played this game in first person, and if you did, you're a bit of a wrong one. I'll tell you who I've also never met, anyone that isn't subscribed to this channel. So if you're not, you best make sure you're subscribed, that way you'll never miss a video from me and thee.
Just like the first game, you play as Agent 47, and at the start of each mission/level you are given a set of objectives to complete. Most levels require the assassination of one or more people. How you go about achieving your goals is completely up to you, the player. There are often multiple ways to complete your objectives. Set traps like poisoning a drink, or taking the action-orientated aggressive approach. Some missions have assassination possibilities unique to each level. The Hitman series is probably best known for its disguise mechanics and suspicion system, in which Agent 47 can find and remove clothes off an incapacitated person to blend in with his surroundings and access restricted areas. The bar beside his health meter on the HUD represents how much suspicion the player gets. Depending on how well you are blending in, if you want to blend in more effectively, for example, the player can make sure they are carrying an AK-47 assault rifle when disguised as a Russian soldier. However, you still have to be careful when close to enemies. Get too close to a fellow guard and it will increase your suspicion, as they will have the opportunity to realise that you're an imposter. Running, climbing and being in restricted places are other ways to garner concern. If your suspicion meter gets too high, your cover will be blown, and the disguise you're in will no longer be effective, although it is possible to switch between multiple different disguises throughout each level. Hitman 2 Silent Assassin uses the concept of a post-mission ranking system, in which the player is given a status based on how they completed the mission, rated along a stealthy, aggressive axis between Silent Assassin, a stealthy player who manages to complete the level without being noticed and only killing 2 non-player people, excluding the intended target, and Mass Murderer, a non-stealthy player who kills everybody. The game rewards the player for critical thinking and problem solving, encouraging the player not to treat the game as a simple shooter. Achieving Silent Assassin status on multiple missions rewards the player with bonus weapons. These weapons, plus items found in previous levels, can be carried over to future ones, allowing for differing means of accomplishing tasks. Big weapons like rifles and shotguns cannot be concealed, thus the player has to either be wearing an appropriate disguise to match the weapon or make sure no one sees the player use it.
Should go without saying, lads, the next bit will contain some spoilers, so you've been warned.
Having retired after erasing all evidence of his existence, Agent 47 leads a new, humble life as a gardener in a Sicilian church owned by Reverend Emilio Vittorio. One day, after 47 attends confession, asking for forgiveness for his past, a group of unknown men arrive at the church and abduct Emilio, leaving behind a ransom note demanding $500,000. Unable to pay the sum, 47 contacts his former employee, the International Contract Agency (ICA), for assistance. The organisation agrees to help in exchange for 47 returning to complete several contracts for them. He learns that the abduction was conducted by the local mafia, and he kills the person who handled it. 47 is unable to find Emilio and is left to repay his debt to the ICA. His missions take him to various locations: Russia, Japan, Malaysia, Afghanistan and India, and each require collecting an important item for his client. In time, he eventually gives up his search for Emilio, who he assumes is dead. After eliminating his last target, Agent 47 is informed by the ICA that Emilio's kidnapping was orchestrated by Sergei Zavorotko, the brother of Arkady Jikorath, one of 47's 5 creators and the target from the first game. In addition, he learns that the targets were connected to the sale of a nuclear warhead to Sergei, who needed them eliminated in order to conceal the fact that he intended to arm the warheads to missiles that possess software which would disguise them as American made, therefore bypassing the American missile defense system, and sell them to interesting parties. 47 pursues Sergei, who has taken Emilio back to his church. 47 kills Sergei and his men, but concerned for his soul, Emilio begs 47 to renounce his path of violence and lead a good life, handing him a rosary. Unable to find inner peace, however, 47 leaves the rosary on the church's door and formally returns to the ICA. Returning to the role of Agent 47, we have David Bateson, a British actor and comedian. He is best known for providing the voice of Agent 47 in all of the Hitman games to date. While he's also a prolific actor, working since the mid-90s in both TV and film, if you're not a fan of video games, then you might remember him from the film Help, I'm a Fish, in which he voiced Commander Shark and General Crab. In 2020, Bateson also voiced Virgil in the 2020 indie game Light Matter, his first non-Hitman video game voice role. Unlike Hitman Codename 47, in the mission briefing screens in Silent Assassin, Agent 47's missions are narrated to him by his ICA handler Diana Burnwood. Whilst Diana was in the first game, she didn't actually speak to Agent 47, instead they communicated via text message. Providing the voice for Diana is Vivian McKee, who would continue to play Diana Burnwood in the following 2 games in the series. McKee is also a writer and director, working mainly in Denmark. However, older viewers might remember Vivian from her time on UK television in the 70s and 80s, where she starred in Coronation Street and Crossroads. For Hitman 2 Silent Assassin was produced and composed by Jasper Kidd, who has worked on various video games, television and film projects. As well as composing the soundtrack for the Hitman series, he's also worked on the Assassin's Creed series, the Borderlands series, Darksiders 2, State of Decay, amongst others. His scores use orchestra, choir, acoustic manipulations and electronic soundscapes. Kidd worked with the Budapest Radio Symphony Orchestra when composing the Hitman 2 Silent Assassin soundtrack. Many of the tracks on the soundtrack feature them. His soundtrack can be listened to on Apple Music, Spotify and YouTube Music. There was a physical release that can be picked up on eBay, but it's a bit more than you probably normally want to pay for a CD. But if you're a fan of Kidd's work, then it's probably worth getting. Sparked some controversy due to a level featuring the killing of Sikhs within a depiction of their most holy site, the Harmandir Sahib, where hundreds of Sikhs were massacred in 1984. The level was later edited out of the PC and GameCube versions of the game, but like many of these types of controversies, if you own a first run of the PC version of PlayStation 2 or Xbox version of the game, then these removed elements are more than likely still accessible. For the most part, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin was positively reviewed. It fixed a lot of the issues that plagued the first game, and it was called an engaging adventure title that rewards patient players. But the console version did come under some criticism for awkward AI, because it was scaled back for the console port of the game. The Nintendo GameCube version also reviewed well, but the cover of the GameCube release says 9 out of 10 Electronic Gaming Monthly Gold Award. This score was erroneously taken from the magazine's review of the PlayStation 2 version. When confronted with this issue by Electronic Gaming Monthly, Eidos said it would remove the score in future printings. Hitman 2 Silent Assassin is thought to be one of the best games of 2002, considering the game was given a HD remaster and is still purchasable today on Steam and GOG.com. I think that proves that it has stood the test of time.
If you're going to check this game out for yourself, and I highly recommend that you do, focusing on just the main objectives will probably see you playing Hitman 2 Silent Assassin for around 14 hours. But if you're someone that strives to see all aspects of a game, then you're probably looking at close to 19 hours to obtain 100% completion. Now, before we go, here are the answers to last month's quiz. Question 1 was complete the following song titles. Give me the... Well, of course the answer was Moonlight, and not Screaming Abdabs. Song number 2 was Button Up Your. Well, of course the answer was Overcoat, and I was definitely not accepting any other suggestions. The third song title was All the Nice Girls Love A. Well, I won't bore you with the replies that I got, but let's just say this, they'd make Mr. B's hair stand on end. The answer to What All the Nice Girls Love is, of course, a sailor, and not a Sagemaker's Bottom Knocker. Apart from anything else, it doesn't rhyme. All the nice girls love a Sagemaker's Bottom Knocker. So you see, Mr. York from Mansfield, I'm not just victimising you, am I? Okay. As that's all we've got time for, I will leave you with this. If a word in the dictionary was spelt wrong, how would we know? Cheerio, see you Friday.